100%, the ticket is yours.
Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of possession.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll! See White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. all of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3! Only gonna really need that Rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Sagafar is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Linky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to CGL, and tonight we have a great NA Open Tier playoff matchup. The #1 overall seed, YE Snowfall, taking on Requiem here tonight. My name is Dextron. That right there is Edgar. Edgar, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Bit late for me. Do have to cast a North American game. Holding my tongue the entire time because the region is fake and all. But, you know, at the very least, the players are going to be fantastic and deliver us some great action. First round of the playoffs, so everything still to play for, so a lot of unknowns with these teams, but it is the open division. They should be the best of the best. YE Snowfall versus Requiem. I'm excited to see what they bring out for us today.
Yeah, I mean, YE Snowfall won mid-season here. They've dropped 1 game between then and now, I believe, as they come into playoffs 8-1. But mid-season champions always puts a little bit more of a target on your back. And Requiem 5-3 on the season, especially in that group 2. Not a bad record, honestly, all things considered.
Yeah, absolutely not. 5-3 is still very respectable. Of course, in the raw numbers game, you have to favor. You just have to favor YE Snowfall. If you are a numbers man, which many of you are, then they definitely go in the favor of Snowfall. But of course, we do love ourselves an underdog story here in CGL, and so do not count out Requiem just yet. Neither of these teams have faced each other. There are some teams and some matchups where, you know, you just can't quite get a read on them. You know, the team that's meant to be better on paper simply can't put away one really nagging team, and that's really what I want Requiem to come out with here today. Are they expected to win? No. So, you know, play without that pressure on you.
Yeah, and speaking of matchups going on here, we had Aura Farmer taking on Blitz Marauders T6 in the UK a little bit earlier today. Aura Farmer going to be able to win that one 3-0. And going on at the same time right now, the Ambitious Silver Squad taking on the Mystic Dead Roses. I believe that's going on CGL2, I believe here. It might, yeah, no, it's going on CGL2 right now. They are CGL3 apparently. They are in their first map, I'm assuming. There is also some South American action going on CGL2 right now. So a lot of CGL playoff games happening at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always more action. There's always going to be plenty of time and plenty of space for us to work with. Busan going to be a map with not necessarily as much space. Going to be the first pick that we come up to. Picks and bans for this first matchup are going to be a big deal here, right? It's going to give us maybe a little bit of the read on the styles of these teams. It's going to give us a little bit of a read onto where they want these fights to go, exactly what their win conditions are, what are the key pieces that they may play around as well. And the meta has had a bit of a shakeup recently with the new patch. A lot of big changes. Ball, obviously, kind of a powerhouse pick for a very long time, recently got hit with a massive armor reduction in 50, so it's going to be very difficult to utilize the hamster to its fullest potential. Tracer as well, what sounds quite small on paper, simply, you know, having her projectile size reduced is absolutely massive. Her win rate at the top level has dropped by anywhere from like 4 to 6%, which is really impactful. So a lot of shakeups. So honestly, the meta is kind of still up for grabs. There are some key constants. Characters like Zarya, Reaper, Venture didn't get too badly affected. So we'll see if those are styles at which these teams want to go for.
And Snowfall banning out the Lucio here pretty early on. I feel like it's a safe ban, especially going into a map like Busan. Speed is very vital, but you still leave Juno there, you still leave Wu Yang there as well. And talking about, you know, the nerfs we had here, Wrecking Ball and Tracer, two very strong heroes in the past, like I kind of mentioned, it will affect them, but I don't know if 2 days after the patch, if there's been enough time for these teams necessarily to practice not having to play them in their lineups. I still think there's a chance we see those two heroes a lot throughout the night here tonight. Requiem, though, they now have the pick between tank and DPS. I would always lean more towards tank here, but Requiem looks like they want to ban out the Tracer. A hero like what you just said, Edgar, that has been kind of nerfed a little bit here significantly.
Yes, of course Tracer's been nerfed. Maybe on paper we would question why we're necessarily banning that out. It's not exactly if she's massively successful at the highest levels, but, you know, it's always the old reliable, you know? Honestly, unless you're on, like, a very exceptional type of map, a good Tracer player is never going to be a bad thing, right? She is so uniquely designed. You know, her burst damage, her mobility, her survivability, if you can use that ability effectively, and her ability to basically be on all areas of the map at once means that a good Trace player is always going to be an ace to have. Quick look at these rosters here. Raven, XLFC, Heavenly, Paradox, and Complex for YE Snowfall versus Heaven, John, Last Night, Karma, and Soulgaze for Requiem. Very interested to see what these teams could be coming out with.
Yeah, absolutely. Why Snowfall, though? They have to come into this, again, mid-season champions. And, I mean, they've always been a team that has made deep runs in these past couple playoffs. Never been able to necessarily get over the hump, as there's been some really high-caliber teams in the past that have been able to take them out at the either in the grand finals or very, very close to it. Some OWCS teams, some Face-It Master League teams. I mean, hell, you have Boop Troop in the same bracket right now in the open tier, a really, really good NA Masters tier team.
Still a lot to be reckoned with. Still a lot that we have to determine for these teams as we're waiting to load up into the match. And again, this is the first round matchup. So I feel like the problem with first round matchups is that teams can often sort of forget the pressure, if that makes sense, you know? Obviously, the later you get into a tournament, the more that you're going to feel that pressure as you get to semifinals, as you get to, you know, grand finals, losers finals, anything like that. But, you know, the first round still very much matters. Even if you're in a double elimination kind of format, every single matchup should be taken as seriously as possible. It can and often is the difference between your overall standing, your team's mental, your ability to practice, the caliber of opponents that you'll have to face to end up getting to that finals and get into even better and better standings.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to remember here that YE Snowfall actually picked Requiem here in to be their first round matchup here. Looks like we're going to be heading downtown for our first point here on Busan, and this is a really fun map. Dive is normally strong. Brawl could definitely come out here, but the long sightlines allow hit scan players like Ashe, like Widow, Hanzo, Cass, I already said Ashe, Freya, to find a decent amount of value out here. But right now, coming out of the gate, these two teams showing us a little something different here. Requiem, though, now sort of going back over to something that you would normally see. John gonna probably just TP out, go right back over something like potentially Sombra, probably over to the Tracer. But this is what we talked about. Or no, there's no Tracer in this map, my bad. But this is something we talked about, or I talked about. The fact that I still expect to see some of these heroes that have been heavily nerfed here, or at least on paper, heavily nerfed. Wrecking Ball coming out from Heavenly. Again, I feel like it's still a little bit too early for teams necessarily to give up on something maybe they've been working on for a very long time.
Yeah, Heaven going to be trying to just hold all of the space imaginable. Has to deal with a Sombra and a Wrecking Ball. Kind of a absolutely terrible, no good thing to see if you're a Widow player. So you can see that the peel has to come out here. Immediately returning onto the high ground is Heaven. And like, I feel like against the double divers, the Widow is a nice idea, but we can leave it at just an idea.
Yeah, they can go back to the drawing board here. Heaven, though, looks like they're going to stick with it for one more life here as YE Snowfall gets the first cap. But right now, Heavenly going to be able to just kind of do what they want on that Wrecking Ball, get out of dodge, fall back. But XLFC, I think, is the person you really have to watch out for here on YE Snowfall. Just being able to get behind Requiem is going to cause a lot of problems and allow Heavenly to find so much value off of it.
Yeah, and again, like, it's just the ability to delete them on cooldown. Like XLFC has to be very careful to stay alive, but it's very telegraphed. Where else is my Sombra going to go except for to the health pack when they're on such low HP? We still have numbers for Wise Snowfall, however, so they're feeling fine, and yeah, Heaven's had to make the adjustment.
Going over to Cassie now, John going over to Sombra as well here, and I think this works out a little bit better for Requiem now, gonna be able to at least try to slow down Heavenly here on this ball, who already has mines ready to go.
Yeah, well, always quite a fast charging ultimate, and Karma and Heaven actually caught out there in some intriguing spots. Karma, I believe, died while trying to cast a Protection Suzu, so just a couple of frames too late for being able to survive in that fight. But why Snowfall have dominant control? You know, they had that minefield, they're going to have the EMP, but they're not having to use a damn thing.
No, they really haven't here, and you talked about mines and EMP, you're about to have Bob, you're about to have both your support ultimates as well. Requiem, though, already has both their support ultimates. Heaven, the only one that's kind of lagging behind right now, ultimates because of the late swap over to Cassidy, so this could be a pretty heavy ult fight here. But Heaven, they have had a rough time so far this first point.
I mean, like, yeah, you're trying to go for the two extremes. I actually really like the Ashe pick here from Raven, especially with the change to the fall-off recently. She has a little bit more range to work with, so you can stay at longer ranges and maybe in some medium distances as well. Why Snowfall? I mean, it's entirely up to them how they decide the fight, and it's going to be the EMP that they utilize to immediately catch both supports out of the spawn room. It's a desperation touch from the D.Va onto the objective, but right now, nothing really matters. 6% is all that Requiem are going to be able to maintain on this downtown Busan point.
And Requiem not even going to be able to get back to get a last-second toucher to force overtime as Raven, you know, jumps off the map there for fun. But why Snowball? That was a really dominant round for them. I believe that probably the only one pick we saw there very, very late coming out for them. It was just a great round there for Snowfall. Like I said, that the Sombra from XLFC, I mean, you saw him touch spawn, EMP'd that backline, and Requiem's kind of playing all over the place at the moment. They need to regroup, come back together. They might honestly need to get off dive here and go over to something a little bit more brawly, as you're already starting to see Snowfall tease us with Heavenly going over to the Ramatra here. Yeah, the brawl kind of poke style that can come out from Ramatra does really help him out, but John gonna make a swap here. Same thing with last night. Looks like we're gonna be seeing dueling Ramatras here. But with XLFC still on this Sombra, I think Requiem's going to have to try to always figure out where they are. Keep an eye open, keep an ear listening out for wherever that Sombra's going to be. But, oh, wow.
You also have to keep an eye open for the Sombra and the Ashe. This is the problem. One person is going to sneak up on your backline and kill them, and one of them is just going to shoot your backline from across the way, whatever. And last night, it's just completely stranded. Bro's looking around being like, where's my team? What the hell is happening here, guys? And White Snowfall just going to run it down. Again, very one-sided thus far.
And again, point is open. Snowfall could go cap. They're finally starting to get someone to go cap now. Heaven now going to go over to the Soj here to try to help their team out a little bit more with a little bit more distance when it comes to that hit scan player here. Snowfall, though, in control of the point as XLFC, it looks like they got cut off in that backline somewhere.
How much damage is last night taking? I feel like there's a disconnect of Requiem here between what their front line really want to do and what their back line want to do. And Heaven essentially just lets go of the keyboard and is like, you know what, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Send me back to the spawn room so I can regroup and recoup.
Yeah, Requiem, I mean, they just kind of seem a little bit lost right now here. You're about to come up to a Kitsune Rush, but I don't necessarily know if you're going to have really anything to pair with it, or if you want to go in dry, I don't necessarily know if you're going to find a lot of value with that here. Snowfall, though, already setting up down this choke, and Requiem, again, you're asking where last night's getting all this damage from. They're just frontlining everything.
Yeah, I mean, I like the adaptation from Requiem. Soulgate's going over to the map, so there's more of that survivability and healing output, but Complex does not give a damn about your healing output because that man has damage output for days, even years. So why Snowfall? Very cheap fight. Seems like there wasn't an Annihilation toss in there from Heavenly. It certainly annihilated something.
XLC gonna get taken out here as the Kitsune Rush comes out from Paradox. Karma has their own here, but honestly, if Requiem just kind of lets this Kitsune Rush go, they're gonna have a little bit of an advantage coming into the next engagement.
Oh, but where's my Genji, bro? And then Raven drops immediately into the entire mass of Requiem players. Bob sent into the mix as well. That's a nasty spot, and it causes a magnificent split. Last night is going to be way, way ahead of the rest of the team. Perfect use of the bomb, and Karma's Kitsune Rush simply wasn't enough to be able to break out of that tiny, tiny choke.
And Karma investing that Kitsune Rush there late. I mean, I understand it was a last-ditch situation, but you could have fall back, regrouped, and look what you would have had here. Kitsune Rush, Amp Matrix, Blade, Overclock. The only thing you have to deal with on the other side is an EMP, but what we've seen XLFC do with it in the past, just focus on that backline, it could devastate Requiem here.
Yeah, that it could. Heaven has the overclock, is letting it rip, just spamming down Heavenly in close range. Good enough for a kill onto the tank, but you have to wonder about everyone else. It was the EMP exactly as you called it, and exactly how XFLC drawed it up in the match room before the game today. Why Snowfall? Very one-sided Busan round. I really want to see some more signs of life from Requiem coming out in the future.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Requiem didn't really show us a lot there. They didn't win a team fight. The only person that really died from Snowfall was XLFC, but you have to kind of expect that playing a summer, especially how they were playing it very aggressively, not afraid to get in that backline, cause a lot of chaos. I mean, why Snowfall? It seemed like they had kind of just a casual Sunday stroll of a first map right there. That first fight was looking a little bit maybe sketchy for a moment there back on downtown, but after that, Requiem never really got their footing, it seemed. They were always just trying different stuff out. You saw the DPS line making multiple swaps. You saw the tank really not make that much, but I think they were still playing the right thing through the 2 points that we saw there. Requiem, it just wasn't the map you were really hoping for, but again, you're going up against Snowfall here, the #1 overall seed and the midseason champions.
Yeah, and the strange thing is, obviously a lot of credit is going to go to the DPS there, XLFT and Raven. I feel like the Ashe was a really good pick, actually. Able to, against the dive composition, where an Ashe would, in theory, be actually somewhat weak against that, was able to just kind of win 1v1s, and, you know, everyone has a plan until they get shot in the head like 1,000 times, so good on that. But also, in the Brawl setup, even though the Ashe is maybe a bit more unconventional, something like the Sojourn, you don't have as much mobility or one-shot potential, you do have the Dynamite. It's such a good way to farm damage, to farm up to a quick bob, and to put a lot of pressure on the enemy team. Plus, overwhelming headshot after headshot onto the enemies from Ramatra is honestly a good strat that we saw from YA Snowfall. It was a bad day to be last night. It was a bad day to be a tank player against YA Snowfall, because, you know, in the Brawl matchup, they were like, okay, well, what if we just shoot the tank a lot? And all the adaptations just came in a bit too late from Requiem.
Yeah, it really seemed like Requiem was trying to really hope that last night was going to be able to take some space, maybe find a decent amount of damage, even a pick here there, just to kind of open stuff up. But like you kind of said, it was just everyone there for YA Snowfall just staring down at last night, putting so much damage into them that they really couldn't take any space, because they mostly just had to back out or just fall back, especially on the Ramatra, just put up the arms in that Nemesis form. One of those abilities where you want to find a lot of damage with it, but they just struggled to find anything there. It's going to be really interesting to see where Requiem brings us for map #2, considering we did see them play dive, didn't really show much of it or find a lot of success with it, and then they showed us a little bit of brawl on the second point, which again found about the same amount of success as we saw from them play that dive.
I'm very scared now, because the Tracer ban is now kind of off the pool, and we know that XLFT's most played character is Tracer, and XLFT just went to like a Tracer, but, you know, with Tracer, but I don't know, she has a Bluetooth chip now, you know, yeah, a more annoying version, a Zoomer Tracer, basically. And like did, you know, amazingly on that, getting assassinations, getting key hacks, building up to fast EMPs to win fights quickly. Even with the Tracer nerfs, again, it's never going to be a bad idea to have a good Trace player on your team. For Requiem, I mean, this is generally the part where we say, oh, for Requiem, you know, they can just go to Circuit Royale or something, and we see what happens there. That was very, very one-sided. Their signs of life from Requiem would be maybe slightly an overstatement. I feel like this is maybe a foregone conclusion of a match, but I really want Requiem to prove me wrong when I say that.
It's always a little bit too early to say anything like that, and you never know what might happen in map 2, as I thought we would be going to a Flashpoint map, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing, but I did not expect it to be this Flashpoint map, as we will be heading to New Junk City here for map #2.
Yeah, I mean, the general consensus is New Junk City a brawlier map. So if you lean heavier in something like the Ramatra, maybe something a Reaper Venture, a double flex DPS setup could work for you quite well. But honestly, I'm going to take an unpopular opinion, say New Junk City isn't necessarily just brawl heaven. It is annoying in that of the Flashpoint maps, it has a 3-to-2 split. 3 of these kind of enclosed maps where brawl works, but then also 2 maps with like decent sightlines where you can kind of play distance and play patiently if you do want to utilize the dive. But hey, I think the main point, every single Flashpoint is going to start on the same point, the same objective, the arena, which is so enclosed, and any kind of pretense of range DPS or, you know, playing patiently and poking, map just completely goes out the window. So that's what Requiem want to do here.
I mean, you talked about there for a moment. I think this map, more so than what we see in Servasa a lot of times, is a little bit more of a diving map, and you could play dive throughout, especially if you are able to win that first point and get lucky with where the next 2 points are. You could play 3, I think, really good dive points. Even though you talked about Arena being something where it does struggle to play dive into, I feel like it does have its advantages because you can get out of the arena, or at least the point cap area, very, very quickly there if you are playing those dive tanks. But Requiem, they get first ban this time around here. It's going to be really interesting to see who they go after. I don't want to see it be Ashe, though. I feel like that'd be a little bit too much of just a reflex ban.
Hit me out, Dex. Is it Malgington?
It probably is.
I really want. I don't know. It's like the devil on my shoulder that just really wants me. Like, okay, Requiem, just play Malga, play the Falcons comp, right? Just go Mal. Okay, they're gonna get rid of the BAP. I mean, yeah, like a lot of credit was going over to DPS, but also a lot of credit to Paradox specifically from Snowfall, who even when their team was running the Wrecking Ball was on BAP. And like 9 times out of 10, it's like, okay, well, this makes absolutely 0 sense. So why the hell would we do that? We can't heal our tank. Our DPS are also way too mobile to consistently heal. We are quite vulnerable, and like we can't really peel for ourselves that well. Oh yeah, I turn into a laser beam and kill everyone across the map. And that's exactly what Paradox did for quite a long time. I'm quite scared that if you strike him down, he will simply come back stronger than you could ever imagine. You know, you take away from the BAP, the guy can probably just flank your backline as Kiri or something like that, or even play distance with a Wu Yang and land some crazy waterbend shots.
I mean, yeah, probably, but no Queen here on the map set in Australia, so no leader going to be this time. No leader for the Junkers going to be on.
No, not Ripley. Really missed that. Yeah, I feel like there wasn't. There's not much indication. It takes me a lot of words to say very few words. Not much indication that Snowfall ever wanted to play a Queen. This is more so a ban for love of the game. Potentially, if they like the Ramatra pick, Queen can cause Ramatra some issues with the knife, with the Carnage being able to go through the shield, but I would argue that's a lot more of a like 50-50 matchup, or relatively even, than like a strict, you know, the Queen counters the Ramatra or the Ramatra counters the Queen.
Yeah, and I also just feel like Queen is a pretty safe ban for Flashpoint. Just in general, I feel like she always has been decently strong on it. No matter what the map is, whether it be Atlas or it be Servas, I feel like Queen does find a decent amount of value on it. But looks like we have some subs and some role swaps coming in here now for Requiem. Ellis on 7 going to be coming in here on that DPS line, and Heaven going to be going over to the support line here. Now, maybe this is what Requiem needs here. Get that role swap, get Ellis on 7 in. Maybe this is the spark they need to at least show us a little bit more here, this map.
Yeah, Heaven is listed as a flex sport player, but a big Widow fan. I feel like they put Heaven kind of on that role in the last map just to try and play the Widow on Busan when it was possible, and then eventually had to swap over to like the Sojin as well. But Ellison, a projectile DPS player, is going to have maybe a bit better coverage. Heaven just going to go over to the support role, and we'll see exactly how things will go. Maybe Requiem just went through a gambit on the first map, which did not pay them dividends whatsoever. And it's going to be a Zarya mirror coming out here with a Venture for Requiem and maybe possibly a Genji for Snowfall. Always a little curious about the spawn room, but at least the final 3 characters that these teams have picked, no debate about. Lucio, Kiri, Zarya. Zarya's fantastic. Barely got adjusted in the most recent patch. Her minor energy converter perk got slightly nerfed, but that does not affect things massively at all.
And I like John coming out here on the Sombra as well. Both these teams, why is Snowfall actually going back over to the Ashe on the Raven? Raven just had a field day last map, not surprised by it. But we have Requiem now playing this dual flex DPS role line here. It's going to give Raven a lot of problems if they sit still for just long enough, but Paradox finding out a little bit early.
Maybe Elson flies a little too close to the sun there. It's a fantastic first pick, but, you know, the bubble and the drill dash can only take you so far, especially when you've already used that burrow to engage. So even though I like the, you know, initial shock and awe strategy from Requiem, it's not something that they're able to maintain, and Snowfall once more taking a first cap on this objective.
XL going to be able to cap that point right there, and now you already see quickly building up. Requiem, though, I mean, they got off to a hot start buying the first pick, but Paradox is someone you can play without, but Heavenly, maybe a little bit too far forward there. Requiem might get their first point cap here of the series.
And Zarya, remember, a surprisingly squishy hero, right? If you can catch her out of position, land a really nice hack, then it's going to be a problem, even more problematic, losing your own Zarya. It goes both ways. Their Zarya can die in a heartbeat, so can yours. But fortunately, the DPS from Requiem are able to clean things up on the objective. Someone needs to answer Raven. Someone needs to answer Raven. And it seems like those calls are going completely unanswered. Locked in the 1v1 with Heaven. But an Eye of the Tiger comes out, and Raven able to clean things up quite neatly.
I mean, it was looking so good for Requiem there for a moment, Edgar, but like you said, Raven can just turn fights on their own. They haven't really been contested either, and the one time they really were, Complex just TP'd to them, healed them up, and helped Raven kill 2 or 3 people. Pulse bomb ready for XLFC, and you can see who they're focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah, I say the Zarya is squishy, and the teams hear that, and they're like, oh yeah, they really are, right? We're just going to see a complete collapse there. Seems like they're really taking advantage of last night's aggression, and especially their own, especially just being able to bait out those bubbles, knowing that they're going to be saved where possible to go onto the flex DPS, so Zarya is very unlikely to use them for themselves. Now Bob comes in here. Raven again just deletes Ellison from the lobby. Jesus Christ, quoth the Raven nevermore. This is unbelievable.
And again, why is Snowfall basically picking up right where they left off from last map, finding team fight victories pretty early on. I mean, look, the point not even open yet, not even open for a couple more seconds. They really won a team fight that didn't necessarily need to happen when it did, but it's about sending a message right now for Snowfall. But you look at Requiem, 4 ultimates ready to go here. Yeah, you just use the Bob from the other side, but the grab, I think, for Snowfall might be a difference maker here for them this fight. But John's EMP gonna find Heavenly.
Yeah, both down barriers going to come out, though. It is the grab, which is the great equalizer. They're trying to burst down last night, but this time the protection is absolutely fantastic. Means that the fight becomes very, very scrappy. But guess who thrives in the scrap? Guess who wants to be in the scrapyard, getting down and dirty? It is Tracer. Absolutely loves a slugfest like this. And XLFC, again, can do it on the Sombra, can do it on the Tracer. Just give the guy a machine pistol, and he'll do just fine.
And here's the thing right now with Snowfall. It doesn't matter what DPS that Requiem goes after. The other ones can still find so much value with it. But Tectonic Shock here from Ellison.
Okay, alright. I mean, we send him in. The bubble timing's pretty good from Ellison, but now there's no cooldowns. He's going to have to retreat. Heavenly caught out. Last night's still alive, even though it's a 4v4. Tank advantage always going to be worth a lot, but again, XLFC is just too damn clean on this Tracer. Now it's a 4v3. Requiem able to take the cap, but it seems like it should only be very, very brief. Heaven has had all the cooldowns expended, and XLFC, going completely unanswered here, is free to just terrorize Team Requiem.
Snowfall back in control of the point. Pulse Bomb is ready here for XLFC if they feel like they need to use it right now, but I feel like John might have been the touch that maybe Requiem needed here. Not going to be able to find it instead. It's going to be point 2 going over to Snowfall. Already map point here now for them as they're looking to win yet another team fight right now. Very, very early on before the point even opens up. Hell, there's still half a minute to go, and they are finding almost everybody.
Oh my god, now Heavenly doing some absolutely unheavenly things here on the Zarya, just catching all of these clean-up kills. Give him another one. No, Raven, a bit too greedy for that one. But yeah, now Requiem, they are fighting a losing battle. They are pushing that boulder up the hill, stopping to rest for a moment, and then they are immediately crushed by the exact same boulder. Except it's not a boulder, it's a massive snowball.
I mean, right now, look, Last Night does have the grab ready to go, but Heavenly built up to another grab already. There's the grab out from Last Night, but where's the follow-up here for Requiem?
No follow-up whatsoever. Instead, Bob's gonna say hello, comes into the action in the face of the Zarya, and Raven hits a nasty fadeaway onto Ellison. It's been a very one-sided discussion so far with Team Requiem and the Viper and Pulse Pistols respectively from Snowfall. Wow, what are we doing, Heavenly? Okay, bro. Okay, bro. I don't even know what to tell you about that one.
Yeah.
It's just a tough day at the office, isn't it?
Yeah, but right now, I mean, Requiem just trying to find some level of success here. They're gonna come up to 3 ultimates right now, and Snowfall gonna have 3 of their own as well. I mean, if John holds on this EMP for both the beat and the Consumer Rush to come out, it could negate both those here, but the Consumer Rush out here early on from Complex.
Yep, EMP goes in, able to catch on to 3 members of YA Snowfall, but Paradox, despite being hacked up, able to live long enough to get that sound barrier off. It's a later HP advantage. Shoalgaze utilized their own sound barrier earlier just to engage. It's going to be a complete team wipe onto Team Requiem. Snowfall are pushed up against the spawn room. John makes a last-minute swap to Tracer, but like, you know, how funny. It's not going to do anything. No one gets onto the point. No one even able to come close to it. And YA Snowfall go 2-0 up, and should be a 3-0 pretty soon, Dex.
I'm never going to necessarily say I agree with you, but I could see it happening more than I could not see it happening. Requiem, they really need to show us a little bit more here, and they had their moments, but that's the problem. They were moments. They weren't prolonged kind of periods of time where they were able to put it together. I mean, hey, they got the first pick of this map, and I thought, hey, Ellison came on.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Lucio got play? Paradox? No, it's over, bro. It's so over.
Hey, but like I said, Ellison came on. I think they found a immediate kind of difference there pretty early on. They found the first pick, but they weren't able to follow it up. And like you kind of mentioned, they burrowed in, they used that dash pretty early on, then they left themselves a little bit of a sitting duck. And I feel like that right there might kind of be the whole story of this series here for Requiem. They have the right ideas, they're doing everything right at times, but then they overextend themselves and put themselves in bad positions and end up just getting taken out. At the same time, YA Snowfall is one of the best teams here in this tier. I mean, this was going to be a tough matchup for Requiem, I believe. I think even they knew that, but I think they thought there'd be a little bit more fight back against YA Snowfall. As YA Snowfall, I mean, you even saw it right there, that grab coming out late from Heavenly. Let's just say what it was. That was a little bit of a BM move coming out from them.
Yeah, it was never going to be fun for whatever team got drafted to play against YA Snowfall. I sure as hell would not want to be facing off against those guns. The interesting thing is, I don't even hate Requiem's like macro. I liked their comp. I like their comp a lot. Double Flex DPS is a fine thing to run, and in fairness, it was a few months ago as well, except that was a Tracer Genji. Now it's closer to like a Reaper Venture setup. Not quite run exactly like that, but went well. Zarya was great. It's clear that they had their main game plan of utilizing the bubbles onto the Venture to enable them to deal as much damage as possible, be as much of a nuisance and absolutely horrible person in the backline, as any good Venture should be, right? But I feel like I think there's individual differences, to be honest. I genuinely don't hate how Requiem are playing as a team. I just think pound for pound, there's not much they can do to compete with YA Snowfall. If we were to say an example, I think Ellison, despite coming in and making an immediate impact on the Venture, was making like some kind of unforced errors, mostly with like the cooldown management. Of course, you have Venture isn't the most like complex character in the game, right? But it's still quite a complex decision to on the fly swap between, okay, drill dash, burrow, when do I have these available? Because I need at least one of these to get in, because otherwise I can't just walk at the enemy in a straight line, right? And I need at least one of them to get out. But quite often we would see both of those being used just to get in, even if you're able to get a pick out of that. And also Zarya utilizing a bubble onto you at the same time, there's just no protection anymore, and you end up going down. That, and also, who gave XLFC anabolic steroids during the break? Because, like, that was some freaky Tracer gameplay. It really felt like they were just kind of walking around. Maybe that's something that I want to see Requiem's supports maybe doing a little bit more. Of course, they have a million other jobs, but, you know, Lucio or Kiri at least trying to keep the Tracer in check, taking some of those jewels. It's not even about taking the jewels, it's more about being a bit proactive to clear out those angles wherever possible. But this is all just rumor, speculation, and hearsay, because I sure as hell don't have a strategy to deal with YE Snowfall when they're playing this well.
Well, I mean, I have to agree with you with a lot of stuff you're saying there about Requiem. I think they're playing good comps. Their macros aren't necessarily the worst, but they're just going up against, I think, a much better team. And it looks like Requiem, I mean, hey, if there's going to be a map that I think any team in the world feels like they can win, King's Row is that map. And Requiem, I mean, they've shown us brawl, they've shown us poke, they've shown us dive at times. You can see all three of those compositions come out here on this map, especially with it being a map that, I mean, talked about a lot in the past, it being normally primarily a brawl map, but now it's kind of an everything map. It's an all-rounder map, which I think lends itself to a lot of unique play styles coming out here, especially for a team like YE Snowfall, who is up 2-0 right now, and they really haven't had much pushback. I would not be surprised if we see YE Snowfall maybe get a little bit experimental here on this map.
I like how you use the word experimental, like you're a parent who's trying to, like, their child has just given them a drawing to put on the fridge, and you're like, wow, son, that's really creative of you. You know? That's that's what I'm sensing here. And the problem is I absolutely agree with you. I think that is exactly what we'll see from YE Snowfall with an experimental type of composition. Something which, you know, they are allowed to cook with, but just not for too long, because it releases like toxic fumes and then like the entire kitchen gets shut down. It's just a bad day at the office.
Yeah, but going to the bans now, if you're Requiem here, I mean, you banned out a support, you banned out a DPS. I feel like you're saying that DPS ban here and ban out the Ashe. I think this is the map where you do it. It wasn't necessarily a good idea back on New Junk City. I feel like they got punished for it there. They've been punished for these first two maps pretty well. And yeah, banging it out here where hit scans do find a lot of value, especially with how Raven's been playing it. This is a really good ban coming out from them. But at the same time, you leave Cass, you leave Freya, you leave Hanzo, you leave Widow wide open for Raven just to kind of take over.
The weird thing is, Raven doesn't even say that their most played hero is Ashe, or the favorite hero. It's Sojourn, right? So you can just play Sojourn here and be completely fine. Freya, interestingly, not necessarily meta, but Freya's recently, obviously on release, was incredibly strong, and then got nerfed quite heavily and was very rarely played, and then recently has been kind of weaseling her way back into proceedings. So I'd be interested to see if we see some Freya gameplay. I think a hit scan the caliber of Raven could do wondrous things on a Freya, especially where there are some spots on Kingsrow, even though it's known as a pretty enclosed map, has some deceptively long sightlines of certain parts. You know, obviously the first point can be playground for Widowmaker played correctly. The last point has very long sightlines. Then a couple, maybe just the start of streets, not really the rest of it, but the very beginning of it. So anyway, we're not going to see a Lifeweaver. All 4 Lifeweaver fans in the world are so mad right now.
I mean, Requiem making a good ban here, like I kind of already mentioned. Snowfall, I was gonna say something like the ban, whatever ban we see here, kind of tells you the mindset they're in right now. And the Lifeweaver ban kind of tells you they feel very, very comfortable in this series. It kind of seems almost like a nothing ban coming out here. They're making the ban because they kind of have to. But hey, I feel like you could play Weaver on this map a little bit to try to defend this pick here, or at least try to give some explanation for it. You could definitely see it happen. Okay, there they are. Looks like we're having. Yeah, looks like we're having a sub come in.
Weaver got buffed. Maybe the Weaver ban is very, very real. You never know, right?
Hey, I might be one of those 4 Weaver fans out there in the world, but it looks like right now, based off what we're seeing up there, yeah, XLFC, I believe it's going to the tank, while Heavenly going to that DPS line. for Snowfall. Requiem, though, water going to be coming in on that support line here for them. I mean, right now it's still a very difficult thing here for Requiem to get back into the series, but with Snowfall making this role swap, you never know. This might just be what Requiem needs to really get something going here.
They're going to need to find something here. They're going to need to find inspiration in places where inspiration has never been found before, and that's going to be England. It's quite a tragedy, unfortunately. But yeah, like we're seeing role swaps, we're seeing Weaver bans, we're seeing substitutions come in. I want to be entertained, and I hope that everyone can watch this and be thoroughly entertained, because isn't that what it's all about at the end of the day?
Yeah, it is, and Snowfall has given us a lot to be entertained by. Requiem, like I said, they've had their moments, but the problem is moments don't really last a very, very long time. You need some consistency coming out from them. If they can win one team fight, that means they can win 2, 3 in a row. They just need to get something going here on this map, because I feel like Requiem is still somewhat in this series. They just need to get something to actually go their way a little bit.
I feel like, yeah, momentum's a big thing. And obviously all of the momentum is like really, really far in the direction of Snowfall right now. They have heaps of it, and they are just continuing to roll with it as well. Requiem, it only takes, you know, a spark of inspiration. Something a little different, a little quirky, a little strange to come out, you know? We're going to see Snowfall start off on the defensive side. We do have a Mercy, who is going to pocket, like, I don't know, the Widowmaker, which slightly redundant. Widow can already one-shot, but whatever. Mercy's in the mix. Ana as well, who isn't bad, but isn't played much recently. I mean, hey, look. Even if Heavenly is like the worst Tracer that we've seen in the world on account of the role swap, at the bare minimum, you still have Raven on a hit scan. It's a tough life.
Yeah, but you look at Requiem right now, they're showing us with the true...
Yeah, okay. Okay, dude.
With the true classic here on King's Row, with coming out with the Rectangle Man himself on that Rhine. Heaven and Water playing two very high DPS supports here. It kind of tells you what Requiem's going for here. They want that high... Why'd you peek your head again?
One time is funny, 2 times... is just not anymore, right? XLFC actually not even getting demeched here is unbelievable work, and Ellison wants no more of this smoke. Immediately opts out of the Widow Jewel after getting World Starred twice and goes over to the Genji instead. Raven has used Grapple very aggressively into the face of a Genji, but hey, that's what the Mercy Pocket's there for, I suppose. I was too presumptuous with that one.
And Raven still playing on low ground is a little bit surprising, especially considering they're on that Widow. But yeah, the Mercy Pocket will do wonders here. Requiem, though, slowly trying to just get through the choke. Looks like they're still struggling here for the moment.
Raven, you could do the funniest thing right now. Grapple up here and, like, turn the corner and hit an instant shot. Well, what? XLFC's out the back and they're just staggering him out. Now you don't have a tank. This could prove to be problematic here, right? You're gonna need inspiration for Snowfall. Raven has the sights up, but like it's not like anyone's position is really unaccounted for. Heavenly, however, it will take John out in that Tracer 1v1. Genji comes up to the high ground, take down Raven, and Heaven able to finish things up here. Ticks being slowly but surely accrued for Requiem right now. XLFC, however, going to make it back, and now it's a full fighting force for Snowfall.
And I like that Venom Mine placement right there by Raven, making sure that they know that Ellison's up there. And look, you see XLFC come right back in, and Requiem just completely disengaged from the point. And Heaven a little bit too far away from their Rhine right there, going to be punished for it. The Immortality Field actually going to keep Last Night alive for a brief moment, but a double pulse bomb kill!
Okay, John. Okay, Big John. I didn't know that you were like that. Now the point's being tested a bit heavier. Requiem have to be, I was going to say have to be careful to not lose numbers here, because there was a very real opportunity for them to, you know, have their forward spawn. Sadly not going to be the case, as they just drop too many numbers in that attack to allow Snowfall to get themselves back in the fight.
Shatter is ready. It's not going to find the one person they were looking for.
Come on. Okay. Well, this is cooked, and Heaven's also transcended just into a different reality entirely. Where is my Genji going? Okay, sorry. Apologies about that one. But yeah, so Ellison dashes in without deflect, immediately dies, as most Genjis do when they dash in without deflect. Paradox also showing why Reddit Lucioing is not very good. Water's able to somehow put down the Immo field in death, which is crazy, crazy work. Now Paradox is coming back on a Wu Yang because God is dead, and I think we killed him.
And I mean, Requiem, they have some tools here to play with. They have a Blade, they have an Amp Matrix. They can wait a little bit here and let John get their Pulse Bomb, as Heavenly going to be able to trade them out or find them out there. Raven popping, I believe, their third buys already, as again, it's just Snowfall touching spawn doors.
Yeah, that's Raven's third. That's Raven's third sights. Most Widow players don't charge that like twice. It's unbelievable right now. Raven's absolutely fantastic, tearing up on the hit scan. We're touching the spawn doors. Ellison's Blade can be something, perhaps, if it can come out eventually. And now Heavenly is just having... This is actually how we settle disagreements in England. We just go over to the phone box to shoot each other. Ellison catches Raven with the Blade. Temporary 4v5 situation. Next left C going forward and forward without the heals, but the Nano is going to rectify that issue very shortly. Last night, going to be demeched on the objective. There's nothing really the Requiem can do in a situation like this, aside from get as much percentage as they possibly can. 56.6 is where it's going to start and where it's going to end for them.
Wants to get rid of John here. That should just do it. Bomb coming out there from XLFC, and...
Oh, hi, Lucio. Bye, Lucio.
Hi, Heaven.
Well,
I mean...
Saw Heaven there.
Yeah, Snowfall able to hold Requiem there. 56.6% does give Requiem a win condition here. Very difficult, considering what we've been seeing Snowfall do in that defensive round. And if you just start seeing Raven hit headshot for the headshot, it won't necessarily matter what Requiem can do here, because Raven has just been very much a constant throughout this entire series for Snowfall, and Requiem has been the team that has had to really deal with it. And the biggest problem is they really haven't been able to. I mean, they got one pick onto them last round there, but it was immediately rezzed, and you really couldn't find that much value off of it. I mean, Requiem, they had their openings. I mean, but I think it all started to go downhill when last night tried to shatter XLFC as they went into their backline. I mean, you had 3 really good ultimates at that moment right there. I understand why you tried to shatter XLFC, but I just don't think it worked out how you wanted it to.
Hitting things with your shatter in 2025 is kind of like winning the lottery, you know? It just doesn't happen, and everyone claims that they did it, and everyone claims, oh, it's fine, you just have to try it. You just have to take part, as Paradox is calling the interview before the match is even done. Crazy work. But like, it just doesn't happen, realistically. So XLFC coming out on the Zen Lucio, the strongest backline of all time, as we well know, and the Rhine. Just rush the ranked point and sit there and see exactly what Requiem do, which is ambush you as you come out spawn.
And that looks like that's exactly what Snowfall is going to do here. Just rush straight to point. They're going to be able to find Paradox out. So you get one, but now you still have to deal with the rest of a Snowfall on the point.
I mean, yeah, by Paradox, I guess. Last night got pinned up there. Looked to be in a bad spot, but XLFC has been scared away by Ellison on the venture. So we're able to buy a little bit more time here. Snowfall have taken such insane angles around the objective, though, that you can see Ellison doesn't really know where to go. And last night, you know, cuts off one head, but then another just regrows to bring him back. Fortunately, however, they're able to win out this first fight. They're able to catch Snowfall as they're re-engaging. And also just take advantage of the fact that their comp is like, you know, utter garbage. But, you know, potatoes, potatoes.
I mean, a minute gone here. Snowfall didn't get a tick in that first point, or in that first engagement. XLFC already into the backline there for Requiem. I think that's very big that last night was able to get out with their mech, but there's no supports around them to keep them alive.
No, there's a really good job of kind of spacing out here. John goes down to a Reinhardt in the small room. This is not why we enter these environments with the Handman. Solo shatter onto the Diva. Suzu decently timed, but not timed decently enough. Unfortunately, last night going to be eating up all of that damage. And first hit going to come in. Only amount of time before the second one comes in. And finally, the coup de grace can be delivered. And why Snowfall slowly but surely will get themselves onto the objective and will get themselves the victory in this match. That's if they choose to stay on the point. And at this point, you know, just put them out their misery. You know.
Just someone cap the point. Like I understand what they're trying to do.
There's no reason to be extending the game like this.
Yeah, like this isn't even like funny anymore. This is
genuinely.
This is just like yeah, like this is not something I don't think anyone wants to really watch here.
No. Yeah, Paradox are going to utilize this Transcendence latter end of things. We're seeing ults get exchanged here. 140 on the objective. Sound Barrier comes out as well for Snowfall, but eventually Paradox able to find a key pick there, and they should be able to finish things up here. Shatter onto the Baby Diva as they come out of the mech, and now they're still not capturing the objective. So earlier what we saw with the grab in spawn was like funny BM. This is the point where it's not really.
Yeah. No, like this is like we already kind of said. This is just not right. Like this map should be over. The series should be over. But right now, Snowfall is not showing any good sportsmanship here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey. You never know in a match like this. Requiem could get themselves back into it, could get themselves the key picks and win out the map, but it seems quite unlikely. There is really no pride to be had in, you know, beating a team which you clearly outmatch and then kind of boasting and bragging about it, right? And that's exactly what Snowfall do there. So they get the win. They get it in pretty rude fashion, disrespectful fashion, if we're being perfectly honest. But a win is a win, and they will be going forward in our playoff rounds.
I mean, hey, it was a really good series up until about the last minute and a half of this map here for Snowfall. But, I mean, Requiem, like we kind of mentioned, a little bit outclassed here. They had their opportunities but weren't really able to capitalize on them. Snowfall was by far the much better team here. Again, like we mentioned throughout this entire series here, #1 overall seed from Group 1, won mid-season playoffs. I mean, they are coming into this playoffs as one of the favorites here, and they got to pick Requiem just for the reason that we saw tonight. It was a really one-sided affair here for them.
Yeah, very one-sided. They were the stronger team coming into this, and I think they really should have known that. Obviously, coming in with a lot of confidence, maybe a little too much confidence, but that's a conversation for another day. We can have a quick look at the bracket, see exactly how things are shaping up in North America. And of course, with that, we can see that Snowfall will advance into the winners round. Requiem, unfortunately, going to drop themselves into the lower bracket. They're going to face the losers of either the Zodiacs or Primordius Rising. And Requiem, of course, will face the winner of that matchup. And then earlier, we saw Subsun take, unfortunately, I don't know the full name, but Subsun advancing through to the winners round 3-1. So we're getting a decent idea of who our top teams might be in this bracket.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like this first round up here, there might be one or two series that can surprise a couple people. I think that Tarnished Boop Troop game is going to be really good, and I think Zodiacs and Primordial Rising is going to be a really fun one as well. Subsun, though, again, another one of those good teams, been in CGL a couple seasons, been able to make deep playoff runs, but kind of fall into that same kind of category where Snowfall was, where I think they've actually made it to the grand finals once. I don't remember if they won it or not, but they have been able to make some pretty deep runs in the past.
Yeah, they have, and this is exactly how things are shaping up in today's matches. Still an ongoing game on CGL 3, so make sure if you are still excited to see all of CGL action, it is not over yet. Even if Ambitious Silver Squad look like they are making quick work of Mystic Dead Roses, it's not quick enough so that you can't catch some of the action. War Farms, of course, winning earlier, and why Snowfall winning out today.
Yeah, so we are not going to have an interview for this game here because we want to get you to that action going on over there on CGL3. But before we go, just want to give a quick shout out to Thorium and Headrunner for putting on this production here tonight. Hey, it was a really good series up until the very end. Why Snowfall, though, we'll be moving on to the next round. Requiem, I think they could make some noise down there in that lower bracket, so watch out for this team. They did show us some signs tonight. Even if they weren't signs for very long, they did show us some stuff here tonight, Edgar.
Yeah, and Snowfall, right? You know, it's clear they have a lot of confidence. It's clear they have a lot of swagger. Of course, you know, everyone would like to... It's a team which everyone would like to shut up, but right now, no one's really presented themselves to be able to do it, right? So, you know, if you're not a fan, then, you know, get to the back of the line. Tell them to stop because they're sure as hell going to keep it going. I've been Hector, joined by Dextron today. Thank you for joining us for North American matches. There's currently action going on CGL 3, and make sure to stick around for the rest of this weekend and the future weeks as our playoffs continue. Thank you, and goodbye for now.